Welcome to the Q.station Data Logger Configuration Guide. Let's take a look at the general Q.station logging features. 4 individual sample rates, 20 individual data loggers per Q.station, continuous or triggered data storage, 4 GB of internal flash storage. Let's review some of the Q.station storage methods. Saving to an external drive via USB, saving to an SD card, transferring data to a PC via FTP, saving data to network drives, sending data via email. Here are the connections on a Q.station controller. Before configuring the data loggers, make sure the following tasks are complete. Slave setup. Make sure firmware, UARTs, and addresses are updated and configured. Channel configuration of real and virtual variables. Let's demonstrate how to set up the data buffers and their sample rates. Double-click on the Q.station, select sample rate. Enter the number of data buffers, configure each sample rate. Frequency, up to 100 kHz can be selected. Sample rate number 1 is the master frequency. Sample rates 2 to 4 can be equal or less than the first sample rate. Buffer size, 200 MB available to be shared between all configured buffers. Synchronization source, the first buffer is always synced to the internal time clock. Buffers 2 to 4 can be synced internally or externally. It is now time to select which channels belong to a certain buffer. Using the sample rate column, assign the desired buffer to each channel. A single buffer can only be assigned to a single UART. How to configure an FTP client. Set up an FTP server on the PC, such as FileZilla. In Test Commander, double-click on the Q.station and navigate to Host Interface, FTP, Client Settings. Change the count from 0 to 1 and apply the settings of the FTP server. This FTP server will be an available option in the Q.station logger configuration. How to configure a network drive. Set up a shared drive on the PC. An instruction guide is available on the Gantner Instruments website. In Test Commander, double-click on the Q.station and navigate to Host Interface, Network Drives. Change the count from 0 to 1 and apply the settings of the network drive. This network drive will be an available option in the Q.station logger configuration. How to configure the email feature. An email server must first be set up, such as a Gmail account. In Test Commander, double-click on the Q.station and navigate to Host Interface, Email, Client Settings. Enter the email account settings, including the email address to send to, the subject of the email, and the email message. The option to send data via email will be available in the Q.station logger configuration. How to access a data logger inside a Q.station. Highlight the Q.station, click on the logger configuration button. Preparing continuous data storage. Select the source for the data. Select continuous for the logger type. Give the logger a name. Select the channels to include in the logger. Select the logging rate. The rate can be the same or less than the sample rate of the selected buffer. Select the size of a single file. A new file is created automatically after the allotted time has surpassed. Select the storage type. A description of each type is provided. Select the destination where the data is saved to. The options available are internal memory, SD card, USB drive, or network drive if this was previously configured. If previously configured, the data can be sent to an FTP server or sent via email. Place a check mark next to these options to activate. Preparing triggered data storage. Select the source for the data. Select Triggered for the logger type. Give the logger a name. Select the channels to include in the logger. Select the logging rate. The rate can be the same or less than the sample rate of the selected buffer. Select the start trigger condition. A variable in the same buffer can be used along with a logic comparator. Optionally, a pre and post trigger can be added. If a post trigger is added, a stop trigger needs to be configured. Select the size of a single file and the overall length of the logging process that includes pre and post trigger data. Select the storage type. A description of each type is provided here. Select the destination where the data is saved to. The options available are internal memory, SD card, USB memory, or a network drive if it was previously configured. If previously configured, the data can be sent to an FTP server or sent via email. Place a check mark next to these options to activate. Using multiple data loggers. Up to 20 individual loggers can be configured in a single Q.station. These loggers can be a mixture of continuous or triggered. Select the Add icon to add a new logger. A current logger not in use but should not necessarily be deleted can be deactivated. Uncheck the mark next to the logger status. To delete a logger, click on the X next to the Logger tab. Applying the configuration to the Q.station. After the logger settings have been completed, make sure to update the entire Test Commander project to the controller. Select the right Project Update button. When the update is finished, the continuous data loggers are already activated. The trigger data loggers are monitoring the start trigger conditions. Opening saved data files. The data files that are saved using the Q.station data logger are .dat files. These files can be opened in Test Viewer for further analysis. Multiple .dat files can be appended together and converted to other formats, such as CSV. Thanks for watching. You can find more information from our website, www.gantnerinstruments.com.